We have Blues comments a lot. We have Bonapublica, we have Palk, and of course our AVC members replying to some of the information or the feedback insights that they share. So this was we have carefully written and added to and modified our proposals. So we're going to start with a Blues comment. Okay, so again, the one that I have shared, it's the one that the final with all their insights. And Marianne says, thank you for very valuable feedback. We have incorporated several of your suggestions to our final proposals document. That's it. So let's start with Blue's comment. He pointed out, he said, the individual given the opportunity to write holds significant power. Should this responsibility be vested in the community in this situation? Alternatively, could it be arranged such that the community poses the question and the governance facilitators are allotted 30 days to respond? And Paul agreed with Blue's comment. He said, I agree. Atlas interpretation should be held by facilitators rather than by community. Ultimately, this interpretation can be changed by MIP edits. So this is the comment to our previous proposal, which was this one. So this was our previous proposal. When a proposed Atlas interpretation is posted on the Maker Forum, the governance facilitators have a maximum 30-day review period. During this period, the MakerDAO community may provide comments. The applicant must respond to all questions and inquiries. And let's go back to here again. And so that's why Blue suggested that we should approach the facilitators for interpretation. And we have taken this opportunity to clarify our wording. And we want to point out that this was our original intention. It was always like this, but we appreciate Blue and Paul for emphasizing that it wasn't very clear. But just that to let you know that it has always been the idea. It was consistently about um, community members requesting interpretations of the atlas rather than people taking the role of interpreting themselves. So the facilitator is the one responsible for providing the interpretation, and that's why we put it here. Any participant in Maker Governance can make a post on the Maker Forum requesting an Atlas interpretation from the governance facilitator. So this is much clearer than what it was. Okay, again, shout out to Blue and Pulk for this. Moving on with the next part, we have a comment again for this is Blue's comment, and it says before a proposal reaches the governance facilitators, it could require a certain number of endorsement or likes for the community. This would ensure only widely supported issues get escalated. We can also batch similar proposals together and address them as a single item. You can also have a preliminary review committee of AVC members that first evaluates the proposals. We can also consider implementing a limit on how often a single participant can propose an atlas interpretation without a certain timeframe, perhaps. And yes, we like this feedback a lot. We agree on this. We are currently working on adding a rule for this. We are thinking very carefully how can we address and prevent spam. These are the questions that we are asking ourselves right now. Like, how can we filter out spam? Let's say like if someone has a question or uncertainty about what the atlas says and needs clarification, they should request an interpretation, of course. But So we're thinking about proposing a template that includes brief description of the specific points in questions, the reason why they're seeking clarification before an interpretation is formally requested. And so if the request is deemed spam, it should be discarded, of course. But again, what exactly defines spam, and how do we distinguish it from legitimate yeah uh, queries? So we are thinking also to ensure the the legitimacy of the interpretation request endorsement from an AVC member, so that okay, this is not just any random community member, but it has the support from an AVC. So yes, we're taking into account Blue's comment about how can we avoid spams when asking for interpretation to the facilitators. Um, haven't yet made a proposal about this, but we are taking this into account for next quarter. So just to let you know. If we have anything on the chat. Um, PB said some comments on V3 draft. We included the proposal's possibility scope that has been posted during the last weeks on the forum. But yes, but Jadmat, that's a research and a work in progress that will eventually become an integral proposal. Feel free to leave us feedback on those too. We know that the quarter is finishing in a couple of days, so there is no need to rush on that. We will continue working on them next quarter. Yes, and I would like also if Jadman also could share the link of the forum of this so more people can know. I have already posted this proposal, and this is one of the last pages. We're going to go into that as well. Thank you, PB, for pointing that out. So yes, asking for your feedback on Jadman's work as well. Okay. Next comment, Blue was about he said, I mean, they say we believe that this is overly restrictive to allow only the governance facilitator for the right to provide a yes no answer, approve, reject. Being an aligned delegate with voting rights, we are quite familiar with this limitation. We hope to see modifications in this section, enabling the governance facilitator reviewing their interpretation to actually propose something. Please note that seeking clarification will often be undertaken by average users who may not have in-depth knowledge of the atlas or its scope. Yes, we totally agree on that. That's why we decided to delete this part that we have written before in our proposals about approve and reject. And um and it was from our previous wording, and it was one aspect that remained, that was the need to request facilitators to initiate an MKR vote in a specific cases. But then after the review period concludes, the facilitators must share their interpretation of the atlas in the forum, for approval or rejection. So this is the context for you to understand how was previously. But yeah, so Blue pointed out that simply approving or rejecting isn't enough. So we agree that it is also needed to express, to share or to express the rationale, and that's why we decided to remove that part. So we'll be like, this is how now it's in our proposal 2.2.3.4. In order for the governance facilitators to be compelled to comply with the interpretation request, the request made must be endorsed or supported by at least one AVC member. In all cases, the facilitator can voluntarily proceed with the interpretation. So again, thank you, and shout out to Blue for pointing this out. Okay. Um. Next, again, Blue shared this feedback that it was about proposing adding a backtrack mechanism, and this involves a backtracking mechanism introduction. That's why we put in here a backtracking mechanism is established, allowing any maker governance participant to request a revelation of an adopted Atlas interpretation on the making forum, outlining the identify adverse effects and propose amendments. So, and then this is kind of like a template that Blue share with us. So we put it in 2.2.3.6.2. The governance facilitators will review the request, engage the community, and post the final decision on maintaining, amending, or revoking the interpretation, along with their rationale and any required action plan in a maximum of 30 days periods of the request. So yes, we agree that it is important to add a backtracking mechanism, and so that's why we have added this in our proposal as well. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so next it's when a public has comments that it says like I'm going to read our previous proposal so you know what when a public has comment it's about. Okay, here. I'm going to share this. So this was our previous proposal. The governance facilitators may extend this deadline if necessary by 15 days, provided they have posted the justification on the Maker forum. And that's why, when public has comment, like everything else in DeFi, extensions, especially in a decentralized governance system, can be tricky. If the conditions for extensions are too vague, they might be exploited or lead to misunderstandings. OTOH, if they are too restrictive, they might hamper the system's flexibility to accommodate unforeseen situations. Perhaps an extension should only be granted depending on the complexity of the appeal. As an example, if the appeal is recognized as exceptionally complex, requiring more in-depth analysis or consultation with experts, an extension could be justified. And we agree with Wanapolika's comment. That's why in the proposals in these components, we are trying to make it standardization about always being like 30 days plus 15 days if it's needed, and we are trying to in every of the components when it's about asking for more time would be exactly the same. um and this part, yes. Then in one of our components we have used the word misaligned, um and a synonym of misaligned. That's why this clock is comment. And I'm also going to read our previous proposal. Okay. When an alignment conserver makes any misaligned, serious, malicious, or negligent act that puts or could have put the maker ecosystem at risk, it will be derecognized. So clock is comment it says, I believe that using the term misaligned adequately captures the intention. I find the term serious to be overly general. We agree with Clocky's feedback, and that's why we have changed our proposal in just to add it The recognitions are determined based on the violation of the rules outlined in the code of conduct for each of the roles that an aligned conservator can assume. And the reason we are putting this, it's based also on Blue's comment, this one. Blue says we should anticipate the appearance of trolls who may make such requests unexpectedly without demonstrating any proven vested interest, possibly with the sole intention of creating chaos and disorder. We are uncertain about how to maintain this approach while simultaneously mitigating the incentives or impacts of trolls activity. Addressing this issue might be more appropriate at the atlas level rather than at the scope level. And yes, actually, Blue's comment has prompt us to consider Blues and also Clocky's comment to consider establishing a code of conduct. So this code would allow anyone to report any issues they come across. Um, for we suggest that facilitators, who are the ones that would say that the most knowledge and in experience, take the lead in developing this code of conduct. Uh, we didn't write any deadline for this task, um, but it's important that facilitators that are the ones that have the most extensive expertise create a detailed and specific code of conduct. So this code will serve as, let's say, the foundation of the recognition decisions. So um, the code of conduct should clearly outline what constitutes misaligned behavior for each type of role, uh, each type of alignment conserver. And of course, the clarity will help us understand precisely what actions are considered misaligned. Um, and we're also taking into account that, I mean, it could be a little bit um, difficult to understand every role. That's why, let's say, the AVCs should collaborate to determine actions that may warrant penalties and contribute to the development of the code of conduct together with the facilitator. That's why, additionally, uh, it could be necessary to have like a Q&A with the facilitators. And that's why we put in our um, final document of proposals in 4.1.1.2. The governance facilitators must develop a code of conduct that specifically defines the behaviors prohibited for each of the alignment conservers. Um, AVC members, ADs, facilitator, and budget allocator. To carry out their tasks, they can propose meetings or in our service with each of these ecosystem actors to thoroughly understand which behavior should be expressly prohibited. Okay, let's see if in here on the chat. Martin says, in our proposal, it doesn't necessarily have to be an ABC committee. With the support of one ABC member, it would be enough. However, we will continue to work in the next quarter to strengthen spam prevention. Yes, and good. Next, Clock's comment, it was regarding this proposal that I'm going to read. It was, if the allegation appears credible, the accused alignment conserver shall be immediately suspended for the duration of the proceedings. And that's why Clocky underlines appears credibly and Who determines the credibility here? This policy seems susceptible to potential abuse. It would be more appropriate to penalize an alignment conservator only when their actions are proven to be misaligned rather than merely based on accusations. And Bonapublica agrees with this. They wrote, indeed, it would be prudent to define what constitutes credible or have a brief initial review process to ensure merit before suspension. And that's why we decided to remove it to our component, and it will be just um 4.1.1.3 would be when the governance facilitators understands that an alignment conservative incurred in any misaligned act in accordance with the established code of conduct, it shall publish in the Maker Forum a request for the recognition, explaining in detail and precision what such conduct consisted. Um, we want to point out that we have modified all of this because we agree on our 80s comment. And there are many more that we, as I mentioned at the beginning, we're still working on. So some of the comments that we are seeing on the chat, let's see. Pepper asks, will you be submitting a MIB 102C2 to enact any of these changes? If so, one big or one several little ones? And yes, PV already answered. Yes, we plan to. We yet have to define our priorities and then draft it, but this will come in the next couple of days. I think Monopoly has a comment. Oh, perfect. I'd like to point out in our draft that we're still working on are some of the wording that they have mentioning. Some others we have removed it. For example, this these small details that we made we forget to add, and some other questions that we are still working on. But again, we have also, I'm going to share the actual one, which is this one. As PV mentioned in the beginning, we have added as well. Oh, something I forgot to mention. I think I did, but I'm going to point out as well is that we have proposals for each of the scope.